So hi and welcome to another video, and today something a little bit special. We'll be tearing down the Finalmouse Legendary Edition, which is made out of magnesium. So I did this live on Twitch under Bearded Bob, so check me out there. I've been doing a lot more teardowns, a lot more modding on there. And today we're going to take this apart bit by bit. I'm going to weigh every piece. I'm going to show you exactly how to take this apart. We're also going to check out the switch issue a few people have been reporting and looking at the Mylar Pads. This one's got it. I will be doing a video on the switches to show you how to fix it. We're also going to do a weight reduction in another video, and I'll show you how to get it down to 38 grams. It's a little bit risky, but if you want to get it that low, it is possible. Now, if you're not already, like and subscribe, because if you're not familiar with this channel, it's going to give you all the data and statistics, things like latency tests, force gauge, mods for your mice to give you that competitive edge over your rivals. Now, starting off here, we take these skates off. I'm using the lighter fluid method. I've done a video on this as well. I'll put links in the description for all the stuff that I discuss here. This is an easy one to do, and these come off pretty easily. They don't particularly stick very well after, and you've got to be careful with this mouse because it has a low LOD issue. I've done impressions on that. Again, I'll put a link in the description for that. But if you've got any thoughts about that, I would probably change the skates on this straight away so that you don't have any issues with the LOD. Just make sure they're very thin. They've got to be 0.7mm or below. Don't get anything that's any thicker because this will mess with your LOD on this mouse. So you can see here they're not rounded from Finalmouse, which is a bit of a shame. It would have been nice to have had it. My camera does have a little bit of a focus issue. You see that on the scale as one. So apologies for that. But we get through it in the end. I've fixed this now on the stream, is that I changed the camera, the focus wasn't working. But I didn't want to hold the stream up, so we just continued. It's also using some T5 screws here. On the base, there's only 2 screws, they're both under the rear pads, which is a bit of a shame. Fairly easy to take apart, the clips aren't too tight either like some mice. But it's using the Omron 20mm, you can't see exit focus, and the micro Omron switches. Would have been nice to see some different switches in here than Omron. The side buttons are also mounted the same as the Ultralight 2, which I wasn't really a fan of. Probably slightly better in here because they are using a magnesium shell. They're a little bit tougher, but on the Ultralight 2 they could be a little bit fragile, so just be careful. There's also a washer here on the Dpi button, and Finalmouse did drop in to give us an idea on what this does, as well as some other little tips for weight reductions. And the washer here stops the screw denting into the DPI button because it's plastic. Nice also to see them using the same screws throughout here. The rear panel on this feels so light, that magnesium. The S1 must be a symbol of something. There's no sharp edges either. See what it sounds like when you drop it. So as you can see here, the right button Mylar Pad has moved. This is what some of the problems that people are reporting with the switches. You're going to take it apart. This is how you're going to put it back. You have to get another piece of Mylar and put it onto the front trigger part. The plunger then pushes against that. You can see a little bit better on the next switch. And then you have to also remove the sticky pad, which is stuck on here. So my Mylar is peeled off and the sticky pad's still on the plunger. That's what we found. I'll be doing a more detailed video and discussion on this and showing you how to kind of fix it and what I did to try and tweak it a little bit. Give you some tips as well as doing actuation tests on these switches as well. So stick around for that. Make sure you subscribe with the notifications on so you get that video straight away. On the left hand one, you can see the Mylar Pad is in the right position. It's still stuck down. One of the problems with this design is that it can move laterally the button, and that's probably what's pushing the Mylar Pad off. If you slightly push it to the side like I was showing in my test, that's going to push the Mylar Pad off if they're not stuck on properly. I mean, there's not much adhesive here for it to stick on because these are quite small. The left hand button one is pretty well stuck on though, as you can see. Struggling to get off with the tweezers. It just seems to have been the right one, as I'm a little bit of a problem. Should be an easy fix with a bit more Mylar if you've got some around. But the buttons look like, you can see here the plunger's a little bit different. problem with working with magnesium is you've got a bit more tricky to try and get certain shapes. It also is not as easy to move, and there's less tolerances in it like plastic. If it's like 0.1 of a millimeter, actually causes a problem. So on the Dpi button we mentioned that washer. This is it. Standard Dpi button here, nothing special, made out of plastic as well. This is what the main shell looks like. Again, magnesium, including the sides. PCB, got a 250 milliamp battery in the back. We do a battery swap on it as well in the weight reduction, but this is a 250 milliamp battery, 3.7 volts. A little bit of rubber on the back we take off. And it's got standard JS2 connection with a bit of tape sticking it to the base on the rear. We always take every single piece off that we can. Now you also see the side buttons don't have any connection, they are glued on. They've obviously been soldered potentially under that. You can't take them out though. And then when you're trying to remove this like the Ultralight 2, it's got clips. Now this one was being a bit difficult to get out. I couldn't work out why. And you don't want to push these clips too far left or right because they will snap. Eventually I find there's a little dot of glue over this post at the back. I'm trying to take off the tweezers, it doesn't work, so I have to cut it. That's what was stopping it from coming out. And then there's also one on the front post that I'll show you in a second, which was also preventing it from me, well, prevents me from taking the PCB out. A few people have reported that taking the battery out causes the mouse to not work again on wireless. I didn't have this issue. Doesn't necessarily mean it isn't there, but this wasn't the problem for me. It worked straight away, and it also worked with a different battery in it. So I had no issues getting this one to come back online wirelessly after this. If you're having any problems though, give me a shout. Interesting to see. Once those bits of glue are removed, you can see the PCB just pops out. So what the base looks like, it is made out of a plastic or a resin. In the weight reduction, it was a total nightmare when I was drilling it out. Get rid of the label off the back as well. You can see Finalmouse have tried to remove every bit of weight out of this. They've done a pretty good job. I like the PCB with the name on the back as well. You only ever see that when you take it apart though. You can also see the antenna on the bottom right hand side of the board here. We're going to measure it in a minute. And on the weight reduction again, we take out some of that resin. Just a shame they put ROMs in it. And we're measuring the encoder as well. I did put a silver ring rubber on it, which you can do, but it was slightly heavier, so I took it off in the end. But we'll measure this, so they are interchangeable if you can find some. A nice little touch here was that they cut out some of the scroll wheel on the inner part of it. Nice little subtle touch. Like I say, Finalmouse have tried to get as much weight out of this as possible as they do on their mice, and they've done a good job here. Now the little prism part on the back of the sensor I couldn't get off. Didn't want to force it. I also can't take side buttons off because they're glued on. So you can't take them off either, so this is pretty much the PCB broken down now. Some of the measurements for the PCB. Again, sorry, slightly out of focus. Using a 9mm TTC encoder. I mean, if Finalmouse really did want to save weight, this could explain why they'd put a micro USB on it. It would have still been nice to have a USB-C on it though. I understand potentially why, given how much they've taken time into this PCB, but I think design flaw, they should have gone for a USB-C and just took the extra bit of hit on a 0.1 of a gram. Anyway, that's it torn down. Hope you've enjoyed this video. It's quite a complex mouse given how small it was, but I wouldn't take it apart if I was you, because it's quite expensive, but you never know. Maybe you fancy doing that. I'll be showing you some mods, like I said, for the switch issue. I'll also be giving some force gauge readings for the switches themselves. If you're interested in that, I've already done some for the Kale and Hirano switches. I'll put some links again for those in the description. If you want to go check those out, you can. I go through all the different switches in that range, and you can see the measurements, the decibels, the size of them, everything like that. And we'll be doing that weight reduction and dropping that video very shortly. So stay posted. I'll catch you later. Bye-bye.